Well, welcome to the video here. So I thought I would film a day of eating and what I eat in a day and kind of go through that, as well as add in a few bits on how I go through the sort of biohack ancestral living style of things. So it's actually October 1st right now. This video will probably come out in about 2 weeks, week and a half. The month of September, I played around with my sleep schedule, really tried to push my hours later so I could keep it consistent with going out on the weekends. But what I found was that my body still didn't get tricked into thinking that it was daytime when the sun went down, because the light in the sky was just lower and I just didn't have the sky, the view of that, it just didn't work for me. So I found my sleep quality really suffered in the month of September. Since shifting back and going a little earlier, I find that I can still go hard on the weekends if I want to, but I think that overall I'm seeing my sleep quality. I track with an Oura ring. I'm not married. People have asked me this. It's on my right hand ring finger. And they basically, this tracks my heart rate, my movements as I sleep in airplane mode, and then I can download the data at the end of the night. And it's more comfortable than wearing a big watch. So I've been tracking that for the carnivore diet. We're talking about that. I think part of the reason that the carnivore diet is so awesome is it's very ancestral. It seems to correlate with the way that we would have probably eaten in our prime evolution and advancement as a species. And it's also lower in inflammatory properties. It's also lower in inflammatory properties. And we know there's quite a bit of benefits from the results we're seeing on the web. So what do I do when I first wake up? Well, day of eating. First thing I do is I crunch down a duck eggshell or a chicken eggshell, about 3/4 of one to 2/3 of one. And that's just to get calcium carbonate in my diet. I'm not drinking water from a spring. I'm actually drinking water from a Berkey filter that is over here. Off in the distance, you can see it. And this is a high quality filter. Berkeys can be used when you're camping. They can be used when you are dealing with like a lower quality of water. They're rated to filter. Austin, for example, where I live in Texas here, when I first moved here about a year ago, last October, they had a water crisis. Basically, the water they got too much rain, and then they couldn't process the water for the city drinking, and so people were not allowed to drink the water. But if you had a Berkey filter, you could drink the water. So anyways, I recommend, I'm talking about water because this is a day of eating, having a high quality, clean source of water, and not plastic in your water. So keeping your water away from plastic is a huge thing. When I wake up, almost the first thing I do, I take this ring off, I download the data, I look at that, I go onto a rebounder trampoline here, and I jump for like 30 seconds. I drink some of my water from the Berkey filter with salt added. So I use Redmond real salt and pour it on there. And then I crunch down an eggshell while I'm drinking that water. So that's the first thing I do. The other reason I eat the eggshell now, right when I get up, versus when I eat my breakfast, which I'm about to eat here, is the calcium kind of changes the acidity and the flow of the stomach. So I want to just make sure that I'm being respectful of that. And that's why I put the eggshell in there and try to sort of take in the calcium early on. If I wasn't drinking a filtered Berkey filter of water, I would probably be getting more calcium from spring water. And unfortunately, we don't get the calcium. We probably don't get enough of the electrolytes from that. So you have to supplement a bit of that. So that's why I'm eating the eggshell. And at night, I typically take Pure Encapsulations calcium to wind down a bit. So that's the morning. When I get first out of bed, I do that. Once I have the eggshell, I've done the rebounder, had some water, I'll go up and get my red light therapy. I have now 2 Red Rush 720s. They're panels stacked on top of each other. I do 8 minutes of red light therapy on the front of my body and on the back. I find that the red light is great. It gives your body energy. It triggers the mitochondria and adds energy to the receptors of your body. And it also helps with energizing and also looking into the light at about 2 feet distance, which is what I typically do for about 30 seconds to a minute on and off, will also tell my body, oh, hey, the sun is up, there's light here, red light, near infrared light. So that's my diet, if you will, when I first start. Some light, some rebounder, some eggshell, and some water with some sodium in it. That's where I start. Sodium in it. That's where I start. So once I have washed my face, rinsed my nose, I come downstairs, and what I'll do is I will go into the fridge here. You can see here right now, I've got a ton of meat in my freezer, just stocked. I went to the farmer's market a couple weeks back and just loaded. I've got salmon roe in here. I've got different kinds of cuts. This is actually the neck of a cow right here. Got coho salmon. I've got salmon roe, a bag of bones. I'm storing all my big bones for bone broth in the future. I've got some bison, ground up bison, bunch of other meats in here, different kinds of meats. You know, everything from a beef tongue to a sirloin steak, just your typical sirloin steak. So I've got a mix of everything. And I typically, what I'll do is I'll plan the day prior or two, and I'll take out meats and put them in the freezer. So, or put them in the fridge, sorry. Take them out of the freezer and put them in the fridge. So I have taken out some stuff. Now I did a slow cook 2 weeks ago, actually, to the day, and we cooked a bunch of food, and I had a bunch of tongue, brisket, and chuck roast. So I have all kinds of that saved up. You can see here, this one has the fat rendered. I haven't scraped that off yet. That one as well, but I'm kind of working through my Tupperwares here. I've got one here, and this is probably brisket or tongue. So when I take it out, I'll be able to see. If you don't do that, like typically I'll have a steak or two. So this is a Denver steak from a local farm about 2 hours north of here. You can see this is a hybrid F1 Wagyu cow. So it's a hybrid Wagyu beef. It's quite marbled for a Denver steak. This comes from the shoulder section of a cow. These cows are very top heavy. They have small butts and big, broad shoulders. This, I'm really excited about this. This is actually from Chickamauga Farms. I have been to this farmer's farm. I'll actually probably insert a video here of me out at Bill McCraney's farm. It's certified, it was certified organic, and they went a step up and went certified biodynamic. And this is straight tallow, just processed off of his cows, which are amazing. These cows are Irish Dexters, and they are basically the smallest breed of cow you can get before they're actually certified miniature, and they are biodynamic. There's about 45 of his cows on a big ranch he's got, and they're all grass-fed, just fantastic suet. I've got some brisket left here, and I took out what I was gonna have for breakfast. So you can see down here, I've got some eggs stored in there. Up top, I try to keep the topos packed. I have a few mixers in here for when friends come over and they want to have something to drink with a mixer. So here I have a stock of beef jerky. We will put about 20 grams of this on the scale and macro track that. So everything I do, I always track, because I think, especially with how dense the food is from a carnivore perspective, it's just, you really want to track your macros, make sure you're hitting your protein, fat goals. I will do 4 eggs, so I'll probably add another egg here. 4 egg yolks in the morning, and then 4 egg yolks in the evening. So all these are going right down the hatch, just the egg yolks. And that's for choline. There's vitamin D in these eggs. These chickens are raised outside. They get vitamin D in the protein as well as in the yolk. There is just a fantastic nutritional profile of vitamins and nutrients, as well as really high quality cholesterol. For your hormones, it's absolutely, I clearly notice an impact in terms of my libido and my testosterone when I eat more egg yolks. So if you're a guy and you're looking to build up testosterone, consider adding in high quality chicken eggs or duck eggs. This is the leftovers of a brisket slow cook. So I took all the fat off. You can still see a little bit of the white sort of flakes of the rendered fat, but overall there's not a lot of fat in here. So when I do my macro track, I'm gonna probably under track this a little bit, because the brisket would have had quite a bit more fat in it, and it was slow cooked. And normally I do not slow cook my food. The reason that it's slow cooked is because I had a big party here a couple weeks back, and I just had a bunch of people over, and for ease of cooking plus for flavor, it was easier just to throw this in like an Instant Pot or a crock pot with a bunch of other meats like some tongue. So I prefer to keep my food raw and slightly blanch it, which we'll do here later today. I'm gonna actually cook some of those steaks in the evening when we do the rest of this video. And then this right here is local fat from a high quality pig farmer. So I'm not usually a big fan of pork. Pork can be high in histamines. I put a video out about histamine intolerance, and I believe that I was eating too much pork and high histamine food, and it made me sick. It got me to a point where I was feeling inflamed. I was just not feeling the best. But this is from a heritage breed of wild boar, essentially, and the processor was generous in basically getting it. I've also got a little bit of beef suet at the bottom here, so I'm gonna take the rest of that beef suet, slice up some of that pork, and probably grab some of that Chickamauga beef suet as well. So that's gonna be kind of how I start my morning. I am 155, I'm about 157 pounds right now. I'm pretty heavy for where I normally am. I'm 5'8" on a tall day, but I'm very dense. Like obviously I have a solid build. I'm quite muscular. My body fat is probably sub 9% right now. And so, you know, as far as where I stand with my leanness and kind of where I am with my body fat, you know, I'm not crazy skinny and not crazy lean, but I'm definitely like defined enough where I've got some vascularity, but I'm not going to be like, you know, there are moments in my carnivore career where I've been even way more lean than this. So I put the video out about macro tracking just before this video, and you can see exactly how I track everything, and that will show you exactly what I do to weigh everything out. But we're gonna also add that in here, and I'll show you what's going on. All right, so this is pretty cool. I was able to set up my iPad, and I'm actually recording on here right now. And I'm gonna show you, and I've done this before on the macro video, but I'm gonna show you exactly how I set this up since we're doing a day of eating. So I go to my profile. Actually, where I'm gonna go is to settings, profile. You can do username, profile photo, profile height, and gender, date of birth, units you wanna use, and your goals. So in the goals section, I started this thing at 148. I'm now about 158. So I've gained 10 pounds in the last couple months, just adding more dietary cholesterol, dietary fat, just allowing my body to produce the hormones it needs and get a bit of a higher dietary intake. I also upped my meals. I didn't just do one meal a day. I was doing two to three meals a day. Now I do about two pretty big meals a day. My current weight is actually close to 156 and a half. I'm about there right now. My goal weight is to maintain, so I'm gonna kind of adjust this. And that's my goal, to maintain weight. I don't wanna lose weight. I can see here, it was July 5th when I actually started this. And then you can see your calorie breakdown. So the default for me is actually gonna be 0 carbs, say 5% carbs, just because there's some carbohydrates in eggs as well as in liver, and about 75%. Yeah, I'm gonna shoot for 0 on the carbs. I'll probably overshoot it a little bit, but 75-25 is really what I wanna go for when I wanna eat my protein and my fat. So this tells me, based on my body weight, I wanna be eating just under 2,600 calories a day, and I wanna be doing 162 grams of protein, which to me sounds a little bit high, but you know, it's a little bit less than a gram per pound of body mass. But also typically I hear about a 0.8 to 0.7 grams of protein per lean pound of body mass. So I bet you we could go 80% fat on this. And that's actually something I'm going to leave it at the 75-25 breakdown we have, but I'm not gonna be afraid to eat more fat than that. So anyways, that's the start of the thing. That's where we start. We're set up there now. So if you go into the homepage there, I've got a lot of pre-saved foods in here. So I'm gonna go into my breakfast that I normally have. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna knock down some egg yolks. So let's grab 3 duck egg yolks, and we'll check that box, and it's gonna fill that in there, and it shows you we've eaten 270 calories of food. So let's do that. When I do duck egg yolks, it's pretty straightforward. all I'm doing is I'm adding in the Redmond real salt here. So I will wash my hands. Grab a paper towel. And this is really easy. Just crack it on the side there, half. Pop your thumb in there. Try to break it in the middle, and then just pass the egg yolk between the shells. As you do that, it's going to sort of catch the whites, and just you can just scrape them off with the edge of the shell. I bought an egg sifter at one point, and it just, for me, it did not work. Like, it wouldn't, the whites on these eggs are just so thick because of the quality of the chickens and the ducks, that I find like those filters where they have like the sort of strainer, if you will, of the eggs work great if your eggs are really crappy. But if you have high quality yolks that stick, high quality whites on the eggs that stick to the yolks, you're gonna find that it just doesn't work as well. So I just take that, got some Redmond real salt here, and I'll put this egg yolk It tastes delicious. And on top of that, I know I'm getting a ton of choline. I'm getting a ton of high quality dietary cholesterol and vitamins. So I just feel so good eating these. So you can see here how thick the white is. That's a really good indicator of the quality of the egg. The protein being so kind of thick as it is. I don't eat the protein on the egg yolks. It's just, there is nutrition there, but again, you know, we have to be kind of careful to really focus on staying ketogenic. And in that respect, it's a little harder if you start eating a lot of protein, and there's already some protein in the yolks themselves. So I'm just, as a general rule, the protein I'm going to get from those meats is going to have a bit more of the nutrients I want. Like the liver is going to be almost all protein, and I want to keep my balance. There's two. Like I said, we're gonna do 4 of these. I think I might have a chicken egg left in there, so I'm probably gonna add a chicken egg. But it is starting to fall, and so the term spring chickens is definitely a true term. The ducks and the chickens lay less eggs because of the daylight getting shorter in the days. It's just a trigger for the birds. It's still warm here in Austin. So it's like a combination of things that is limiting the amount of eggs that the farmers are getting. So there you have it, 3 duck eggs. Next up, I'm gonna weigh out the meats that I have. So I'm gonna grab a plate here. And I've got a Nuzeri scale from Amazon, about 20 bucks, $15 for this scale. I'm gonna tear it out, and then I'm going to put about 20 grams of beef liver on here. This is actually a combination. That's actually 30 grams. 30 grams is fine. I'm gonna do 30 today. I did 20 yesterday. I'll do 30 today. Should be totally fine. So on this, we're gonna add in beef liver. You can see it's pre-saved, and then I'm gonna update the settings here to 28 grams is what I have. So that'll be almost all protein. Add that in. It's only about 50 calories of food there, but you're gonna get a lot of riboflavin, folate, things like that. Now this is gonna go into a bowl. This is actually the brisket, so I'll put the rest of that into a bowl. Before I do that though, I'm gonna add in this fat, this tallow. So for this, I'll just tear out the plate there, rotate it over. So now it's zeroed out, and I'm gonna grab a fat chunk. That's 80 grams right there. And I'm gonna take the rest of this tallow, the beef part of it, and I'm gonna get all this fat in there. That, my friends, is 100 grams of pure fat, AKA about 900 calories of energy right there. So, scale that down. There may be a little less density in the tallow itself from the pork, but overall, that's a big one. So if we go to add the food here, we're gonna put it as suet. And if you look at this, one serving, 850 calories. Massive. We're already basically at half of our goal for the day. I tend to eat heavier in the morning just to kind of power up my day, and I find that I sleep a little bit better if I eat lighter in the evening. So this is actually gonna be quite a bit of food for the day, but I'm just gonna kill this off. Just feast. So that is 350 grams of brisket. Now, if you remember, I mentioned that all of the fat that was slow cooked was kind of rendered off of this. I took it off because the liquid fat does not sit well with me. So when we measure this out, I'm actually going to probably when we measure this out, yes, it's showing up at 350 grams. You can see here, but this is not truly going to be as calorically dense. So I'm going to go into the macro tracker on MyFitnessPal, and I'm going to add in brisket, whole brisket, and I'm going to probably do about 100 grams less than what it shows. And the reason I'm doing that is because, first of all, quite a bit of the fat was melted off, and the fat is the most calorically dense thing. And secondly, I don't want it to pile up my macros for my fat and mislead me. So I'm gonna put it at 3, and that would show up as about 690 calories. I even think I might go lower than that. I might go to like 2.5, 2 3/4, and just add that, because I just know intuitively from all my experience measuring the food, this one's more modified. Again, when I'm truly carnivore, I'm not eating slow cooked food. I'm just searing, blanching lightly on the stovetop. Almost all the fat is preserved in the meat. It's not rendered. I can eat the whole cut as its true form. And so my macro tracking is really, really solid. But when I'm doing slow cooked meats, something from the store, something that was cooked at a restaurant, it's a little bit different. So right now, when we're on this tracker, we can see our nutrition breakdown and go to more and go to nutrition, and we can see what is going on here. Macros, we're at 85% fat, which is solid. This is gonna be pretty heavy in protein. This is gonna really bump us up. Let me just double check and make sure that was saved, because I think that was not saved. Oh, it was. Okay, cool. So we're good. Awesome. So that's a good start to the day. That's 1,800 calories of food. That would be a substantial meal for anyone. So we will have this, and I will tune back in when we have more food to come. We've got our meal. I've got my brisket here. I've warmed it up. I've got a fat helping of my fats in my liver. And I've got another duck egg here, my number 4 egg for the day. One question that people will bring up, and something that I thought of when I was first on the carnivore diet, was what supplements do you take? And it's an interesting one. I think it depends a bit on your body. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. If you have a deficiency or you have a pre-existing condition, you should adjust for that. But if you're healthy and you're looking to live ancestrally, I think there's probably a few things you want to think about. One, how is your water source? Are you getting the minerals and the electrolytes that you would be getting? And one thing that I cycle on and off with is boron. Boron is is probably found in the bones. And if I slow cook meats and things like that, I can get boron. But if I'm not consistently eating a lot of meats and I'm not drinking a lot of spring water, boron can be a bit of a tricky one. So I take one of these, which is 2 milligrams every other day. And I have noticed that it seems to help with my testosterone and my libido. The other thing I take, I don't know if I've noticed a direct impact, is grass-fed beef brain from Ancestral Supplements. I'm kind of playing around with this. I take about half of the dosage every day. And so it says, you get 6. If I eat sweetbreads or thymus, then that is part of the endocrine system, and it's probably the closest thing you're gonna get in terms of mainstream for brain. I won't take the supplements when I eat more of that. And beef kidney from Code Age. This is another company that does grass-fed. Ancestral does them out of New Zealand, and Code Age comes from South America. Both are grass-fed 100%. And why I take kidney is because there is a lot of vitamins and nutrients in the kidney of the animal. Kidney for me is quite a bit strong in flavor. I find that it's a little bit more challenging to kind of stomach and taste it. But it's really powerful for histamine. And histamine, as I mentioned earlier, is one of those things where I think I have a more sensitive level of histamine production in my body. So my body tends to react more to the environment, to my food, than the average person. And so histamine, when you eat kidney, your kidneys produce diamine oxidase, which is an enzyme which helps break down excess histamine. I don't want to be taking antihistamines. I don't want to be blocking the neurotransmitter, the histamine neurotransmitter in my body, but I want to be giving myself enough of the enzyme to have an ability to sort of break down excess histamine in my body. So I take that pretty much every day, unless I get kidney, which I do get kidney probably every other week, and I thin slice it and sear it and eat it. And kidney, as bad as it can be, I find that it's not that bad. Redmond Real Salt, I put this in my drinking water. I put this on all my food. I put this on the brisket. It's my #1 seasoner. And then a bit of iodine. I find that I'm not getting iodine. I'm getting some iodine from the egg yolks, and maybe a little bit from the meat, but I take one of these drops, just one tiny drop a day. This is a benevolent liquid iodine. So I just put a little bit of this on a single drop a day in my drinking water, and iodine is supposed to support thyroid function. So that is my breakfast, broken down pretty much everything I would do as a carnivore. The only thing we're missing right now is ultraviolet light, and I would go out. It's almost 12 o'clock here in Austin. I have an app on my phone called D-Minder. It tells you where in the world you live based on your latitude, how far up north or south you are, what time solar noon is. And I will consciously look to get out in the sun for about 20 to 30 minutes at a minimum. I'll probably go there, take a nap after I do a little bit more work around 1 o'clock. That's probably when the solar noon is. I'll put a screenshot in here to kind of show you what that looks like on my app. But that is the ancestral carnivore diet. I get red light therapy in the morning. I get some eggshells in the morning. I get my water with iodine with some boron. Every once in a while, I'll sprinkle a little bit of lithium in the water as well, because lithium has been shown to sort of help with mood stability and things like that. So I have lithium orotate in my cabinet, but I don't take it regularly, so I didn't put it out here as a day of eating. What's going on, everyone? It is now 8:30. It's a little on the late side for when I'd want to eat, but I just got back from the gym. I had a bunch of things going on, and I wanted to round out this video for for what I eat in a day. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna crack into some of this suet, grass-finished, grass-fed beef suet. I've got some brisket here, so I'm going to actually get the pan going so you can see how I would cook a steak, or cook some meat, I should say. I have a ceramic pan. I'm going to put a little bit of water on the surface, a layer of water on the pan. I'm gonna heat it up. I'm gonna do about half medium temperature on that. So for the pan, I'm actually gonna put in raw brisket. I'm just gonna slice it up. I've got a cutting board here, and I will slice it into layers. Pretty good sized knife. Now, some people go super extreme. I'm not going super extreme right now. So if I shoot over my macro a little bit on my total calories, I'm okay with that. I'm gonna just kind of eyeball what I want. And the other thing to keep in mind here is I did just lift really heavy. And so I wanna give myself a little bit of a protein boost here into my meal. So I wanna eat a little bit more protein than I normally would. The other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up this bag of suet. I'll just rinse off this knife. As I mentioned earlier, we're gonna get 4 duck eggs. Cholesterol is a precursor for most of the body's anabolic steroids, such as testosterone, progesterone, and this just looks absolutely beautiful. I'm so excited for this. While that pan's heating up still, we're gonna store that suet. I'm gonna take all the suet that is in this bag and just put it in to a glassware and make it work. So this is pretty good on the protein for the chuck roast. I'm guessing we're probably at about 150 grams or so of steak there. Again, once the water starts to kind of steam a little bit and gets a little hotter, I'll put some of that in there. We have 790 calories according to our app, where we can finish off the food. I will measure the chuck roast after I actually go in and get this. So we'll get the fat in here first. So that's 50 grams of suet. One of the reasons why you want to measure, I mean, if you look at my hand, this is not a lot of food, but this is about close to 400 calories. So we're gonna add this to our MyFitness on the home section, and we'll go in here at dinner and we'll go suet, half a serving, 427 calories. We have 367 calories left. We added the 4 duck yolks and then this brisket, we're gonna have more than enough. So I'm gonna put these in here. Again, now I can see the water's kind of steaming on the pan. Bring y'all over here to kind of see what's going on with this. So all I'm doing with the meat is just lightly searing the surface. I just want to make sure any sort of bacteria that was on the surface is going to get cooked off. So I just added the suet. I'm going to also add in 4 duck eggs, egg yolks, and that puts us basically at our goal. So now once we put this brisket on the plate, put this fat back where it goes, we should be basically at what we want for the day, which is perfect. So I will come in here and I will flip these. You can see it's kind of brown now. It's been cooked, the surface. Grab a fork. Side, flip that. And so I'm using water to reduce the heat at the surface level, but still provide enough heat to cook. I've got 5 egg yolks in here, so we'll open those up. And then again, I'm gonna weigh it out as soon as it's done. I'm almost done cooking this though at this point. This end piece was more exposed to the air and more to the surface, so I'm gonna kind of make sure that this one gets a good cooking. Most of these other pieces, because I've cut them, they should be fine. They should be super, and this is all from, I got this from Whole Foods very recently, so it's fresh. So that's it. This is all I would do. So we have it teared out, so it's gonna, let me read that. That was 40 grams right there, that piece. That's 100 right there. 148. This is 190, so we're gonna go over our target. That's okay though. Some days I eat a little bit more than other days. So today I was very active. I went to the gym, lifted heavy. I wanna get in some meat, I'm a little hungry. We'll call this chuck roast because this is not brisket, this is chuck roast. And there we go. So we're actually at 3,200 calories. Our goal is around 2,600. That's totally fine. So as long as you're not doing that every day. Again, this video is kind of here to show you what I would eat in a day. And the fact is, I'm human. Sometimes I want to eat a little bit more than what is maybe what I should be eating. But one of my pleasures in life is having a dinner. And let me get a topo here. It's one of the short things that I have, moments of sort of pleasure throughout the day that I want to sort of take advantage of. So by all means, it's a great example of what a carnivore day of eating would be. If you look at our nutrition breakdown here, we're at 83% fat. We did about 300 grams of fat and about 135 grams of protein. So overall, pretty darn happy with that as a macro balance. I might even add a little bit more protein just because I lifted today. As a day of eating, I probably should show the food and how I'm eating it. Obviously in my red light, it's a little difficult to see all the detail, but the suet's quite dry. I eat it raw. I just salt it with real Redmond real salt here. Redmond real salt and then just eating the meat and the suet. And that's it. Overall, that's a great day of eating. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it and you made it this far, thank you so much for the support. Hit that like button, subscribe, comment. Let me know how you do with your macro tracking. And as always, I will see you all soon.